Hello, the game has started and it's me to go first. I have a pretty poor rack actually. Maybe I'll just go with Moors to balance things out a bit. Not a great pickup at all, so that's a bit of a shame. I'll just have to work my way through this, perhaps change, as the queue doesn't really seem to offer me much on this board, and it'll become a drag on the rack if I hang on to it. So, what to do? Morsh isn't good, otherwise Gash would be playable, but could play Rash. No, I think the idea here is to get rid of the queue. Maybe not. Maybe Rash for 22. Q on the rack without the eye it's like minus 11. No, I don't like that rack leaf. I'm exchanging, and I'll get rid of the G as well. Rash is a pretty good 4-letter set. Okay, not too bad. But I don't see a bingo, so we'll have to perhaps get rid of the F and the H. S and the H do have synergy though, so but I need to utilize a scoring tile if I'm to keep the score ticking along. Frosh. What about Frosh? 30. I have the fish component of a word, but nothing going there. Opponent taking some time with the second move. Perhaps he hasn't realized that I've exchanged. He does play there. So Jivey scores pretty well. 45, wow. So my previous plan has been scuppered. What about foe? Such an easy score for opponent. Maybe just play it here. Slightly lower score, but a better position on the board in terms of defensive positioning. Terrible pickup. A U and 2 N's and a B now to deal with. The rack leaf was pretty decent, RANS, and it's deteriorated. That's okay. We can play Jan. Takes a Y though, and easy score across the top, so not a fan of that play. Urban. I have Urban on the rack. Vent. I could play Buns and Vents. That's not bad. unless there's a bingo that I'm missing. Urbanist, nope. I think I'll go with buns or nubs. Nubs for 30. Not great. I draw the Q again after chucking it back. Seems I'm destined to play it. Canat onto a T. No T available. I could play chin, but then there's an easy score if opponent has an S, so I'm not doing that. Gar and ref. Still can't get rid of the Q. Gar takes an A in front. Yeah, 24. Yeah, this is the problem when you hang on to the Q. Now, if I was to play Kaid, opponent just, there's so many words that begin SN. That's just suicide. I'm not doing that. Now, axe in the top right, not bad. For 38, that'll be my highest score of the game so far, if it remains available. This rack leave absolutely shocking. Okay, opponent's play of higher hasn't interfered with my axe play. I'm going with that. So I draw the Z, which is great, but this Q and the two L's really dragging the rack down to dire depths. So agar, I think agar is good. I think this is the point at which I change, maybe keeping AZ. Ads is good, ADZ, but again, no place decent for that. If I had an I could have played tis. No, I'm almost certainly changing here unless opponent provides a great spot for the Q or Z. I think Mom takes an A from memory. MoMA. Could be wrong. Now there's a bit of value to be had alongside the J. Laird, maybe. 19. But look at that rack leave. I was looking at the Z plays. I'm going to get rid of this Q for the second time. And I'll get rid of the D. There are two Ds to come. A couple of blanks as well. So I'll keep these ones. And I get another D back, so good to have dumped it. Now this looks a little bit more flexible. But I don't have a H for nuds Nudzh. That'd be a nice score. Opponent plays where I was thinking of playing. Wow. Not a huge amount on offer here. Board's pretty tight. Maybe just un for now. Gee, that feels weak. Doesn't give a huge amount back to opponent though, so that's fine. Azides as a 6. Zaida. Ooh, almost a play at the top there, but not. Draw doesn't take any front hooks, I don't think. Morse takes an E. Zaida and MoMA. 35. Nope, MoMA is not good. I was unsure about that one. 18 for add. The rack looks pretty good though. Nope, it slipped a little bit now with the vowel heavy position. I think it's maybe an E that it takes, that I'm mixing it up with mome. Div takes an I. It's a good place size, but that just gives easy points back to opponent. Now, what about EAU here? 14. It's a good rack leaf. Now that looks a bit better. I can work with this. Optimizes through MI. That's not happening. HO here to utilize as well as the R. Reposits. Not with the Z though. Poetizes through an E. It would be great if opponent played an E somewhere along here. Okay, opponent plays Lobo. Does that help me at all? What about the B? Not likely. Gee, of all the floaters opponent could have left for me, the L seems to be the least useful together with the Z, but I don't have to play for a bingo this turn. Could just get rid of the Z, play something like Biz. This feels so weak after hanging on to the Z for as long as I did. 24. That's a bit better. Potters is good here next to the U of U. And a good opponent plays there. Bises and Spotter. That looks alright. Oh. 84. Not bad. Antiphas plays next to the A of U. Does Antifa take the S? I think it does. It also plays here under TE, but is there another bingo? Fantasy through an S or an E. So what about Antiphas here? 77. Now I've got the Q. I can play Chin and Pan, but that does leave the Q directly above a double word square. I don't like that. I'm low on time. Now Chin plays nicely here at L10 down, and Kindar is also good, but that doesn't fit. Obviously the best spot would be Chin. Now there's a blank unseen, so opponent might well bingo this next turn. Could play Caddy. But is Chin, what would that look like? There are 3 eyes to come. If opponent plays an eye underneath, Crudiest. Okay, so opponent takes my spot and bingos. Interesting. Now he could play an eye under there. I wonder, do I just play QI and QI? It's pretty much the same score. There's not much he can do there at 11k. Yeah, I think I'll go with this. Yeah. Now, opponent can probably score decently in column A. Diff is good, and Doyle. But opponent does have an S. Can he bingo? It's unlikely, but there could be one there. An ice word or icily or something like that. Now, what about either playing down onto the trip? Okay, opponent plays yes. Ronell is good, but that doesn't work anywhere. Ah, I've got an N for chin. Nothing goes after UN here. That's a shame. Now oh, Dale. Does Dale take an S? It's 24 points. Dayan. And Dayan. It's a big score, but I don't think I want to do that. What about drone? Or, yeah, I could play Lord, but then, well, there's not a huge amount opponent can do with his C there. That's 23, and then I've got in and non. I can go out for sure. Ah, Lord is not playable that way. So I'll go with drone anyway. 22. And LN, well, I've got Lin here, and I have got Lin and well, I don't have an outplay, which is, it's not a problem. I can just play chin here for 14. So the game is won, unless opponent has a big 40-point play. Lies, okay. And then I'll go out with Lin for 3. So that's the end of the game. 413 to 368. Thank my opponent for the game. Let's see what we missed in that one. So Moore's, oh, it's saying exchange is more or less the same. So I went with Moore's. And then opponent's got Jive for 35 and Morse, but he goes with Keys and Arg. That's quite nice for 23. No, it's not nice. That's just a very easy scoring spot for opponent. And I could easily pick up Dross to go with the Q. So happy with the exchange. Opponent has a big 45-point play with Jivey. And now scores in the mid-20s, but there is a 36-point play, Fashion, but that gives back an easy 30, if not more, to opponent. So I went with Foe. Wheating. Yeah, same kind of scenario. If opponent plays that, then I've got a good, easy score there. So he goes with Vent, and Nubs looks fine for 30 from that position. Muled for 33 opponent had. Went with Wem, and now Raglan or Langar. Yeah, I just don't like leaving tiles floating out in the trip lane like that. It's a good score, but it just gets cancelled out so many times. So I went with Gar, opponent mid-20s, and he goes with Higher for 20. Lanks for 24. It's not bad, but DLQ, not great. Happy with Axe, even though the rack leave is worse than DLQ. But you can see similar equity scores. And Dawar, again, volatile but scores well. Opponent plays the safer draw. Holland, wow. Holland, it's not one you see every day. I went with an exchange, and our opponent's also got a pretty awful rack. Goog on offer for 24. Goes with Gore. And now Tiz. Tiz for 32 would have been acceptable. Why didn't I play that? I went with Un. Yeah, from this position I went with Un. Yeah, that's... What about Undid? Undid, yeah. Okay, easy score for opponent. So... Un was, yeah, didn't score much. It's just 12 points, but it did keep the board a little bit closed off. Eldad, yeah, no great plays from this rack for opponent. And then Azide, I did mention, but oh, Momi. That's the one I was thinking of. I knew there was a strange hook for Mom. So Momi, Azide. Decent score. Comeback scores from 8A there as well. And a bingo floater. So, but I suppose you have to score. You can't just keep playing little 2-letter words for 12 points each turn. So, but I did play add in the top left and waited for opponent to make an opening. Pretty low scores for opponent on this turn. Goes with Div, also very cautious with his plays. Now, you for 14 left a pretty good rack leave, simming best. And opponent getting close to a bingo. He's got that first blank. And he goes with Lobo. Interesting. Tiz still available. And that might have been the way to go, because this rack combines normally pretty well with the L. Plays like Loopiest. And then you've got op times and those kind of plays, out plays. So I quite like Tiz from this position. And then of course the P plays next to the U quite nicely. So yeah, this would have been my play. But I went with Biz. It's definitely inferior. Now opponent's vowel heavy, nothing going there. Gets rid of a couple of vowels, and spotter for 84 is best. And then DP. Okay. It's 30-point play. That would have drawn opponent more or less level with a very strong rack leave and a bunch of floaters. And then I've got, well, there's Fantail. That would have worked nicely underneath Ape. And Tifa's is the one that I go with. And then opponent has got a bingo rack here. Decubitai. Wow, look at that. 73 points, but that would have left the I floating for the Q to be executed. That's quite nice. Tricky one to spot. Dulcites, crudites. Opponent goes with crudiest. Now this was an interesting position because I had a little cushion of about 35 points, but the Q chin for 29. I didn't want to do that because opponent could easily have played something like CIS, and then there's not much I can do under the C. So, yeah. Chin, chin, den, tin, chin. Yep. I'm still happy with my play of chi. Also, having held the D back, I did identify I could score. Did I have the D at this stage? Yes, I did. So I liked chi, and the best opponent could muster here was Irie for 33. That would have given him 351 striking range. Goes with Yez for 22. And Loyola, wow. That's quite nice through those disconnected floaters. And I went with Drone. And then opponents got a highest score of 38 for Elises. Wow, nice underlap. 38 would have given him 378. Not enough, no. Yeah, the game was won after Drone, I'd say. Lies and then Lynn to go out. So that was the end of the game. 1 or 2 misses as usual, but pretty good all in all. Hope you enjoyed watching that game, and I will see you next time.